I don't drink. Well, I just don't drink. I never had. My brother was an alcoholic. He had such potential, such tremendous, I mean, the most handsome, the best personality of anybody, better than me. But really, I mean, just a great guy. And alcohol destroyed him.
You heard it here on Justice. Donald Trump got personal in my one-on-one with him, touching on his late brother's death from alcoholism, as well as how he raises his children. And with me now to discuss my interview with the Republican frontrunner, former Massachusetts Senator Scott Brown. All right, good evening, Senator. Most see Donald Trump as a strong businessman, but now we see kind of a personal side. Should he do more of this?
Well, I think it's certainly important. And by the way, good evening, Judge, to you and all your viewers. And thank you for having me on. I think it's important to talk about personal stories in someone's life, especially if you're going to be representing this great country. I think Marco Rubio does it very, very well. What Donald referenced with the loss of his brother is certainly very powerful. And his discipline with his kids is something that I certainly believe in. One thing I'd like to, I was making notes as I was listening, and congratulations on the interview. He keeps saying, if I'm not treated fairly. I have not heard anyone ask him, what does that actually mean, fairly? I think he's being treated very fairly. And does fairly mean that you're asked tough questions, or you're bringing up references of things you've said and you've changed your mind and you get put on the spot? So maybe next time you can ask him, what does it actually mean, fairly?
Well, you know, I don't know if Donald Trump ever feels he's on the spot. He seems to be able to answer whatever the question is. But Senator, let's talk about this. You've run several campaigns. You know the value of earned media. Donald Trump doesn't have to buy ads. He doesn't have to do what everyone else is doing. He is the news. And now he's on Twitter and Facebook. I mean, you know, he doesn't have to spend much money based on the attention he's getting, does he?
No, not at all, obviously. And he's the front runner, and he deserves that attention. Let me tell you, my assessment of Donald, and I like you, I've met him, I like him. I think he brings a lot of creativity, that business sense, the ability to create jobs, that strong personality. And here's the thing I think that's been lacking, especially after almost 7 years of President Obama. He was spot on, and I've said this before, that this president will go down as one of the greatest dividers. What Donald's talking about is restoring America and making it great again, and believing that we live in the greatest country in the world. I've said it, I believe it, and the thing I like about him is that he's actually reminding people of how it used to be, and with the hope that we can actually be that way again. And I think that's an important factor, and that's one thing that really, I think, sets him aside from everybody else. So I'm kind of waiting and listening and learning about Donald and his policies, but you got to start putting some substance behind all the thing he's saying. And that's the biggest problem that I'm hearing from young, old, middle class, black, white people in New Hampshire and around this country right now.
Well, and you know, he has started doing that, and I think that one of the issues, I mean, he's talking about sanctuary cities, he's talking about building the wall, he's talking about a lot of different things, but, you know, he is, in many ways, Senator, saying things that, as you say yourself, you've said. Why is it that he gets so much traction?
Well, because he's Donald. He's, you know, listen, he was getting paid, what, $300 million to be hosting The Apprentice. He's a multi-billionaire.
But isn't
and I
he
respect
beyond
the fact that somebody in that position.
Senator, isn't he beyond celebrity?
Well, right now, no, he's a celebrity first, and now he's turning into a politician, somebody who's what I think and what I respect is you have somebody like that who's putting it all on the line. He's putting aside his accomplishments, his businesses, is putting it all out there for the public to either praise or criticize and trying to do something for the country. And I like that a lot. So we'll see where it goes, but people know him as a celebrity. Now they're kind of testing the waters, poking and prodding, showing up at events, listening to him, you know, seeing if it's real or if he's putting on an act or if it's real. And that's kind of where we are with a lot of people in New Hampshire and others. And remember, 25% in a 17-person field, you know, that's going to win it. And I agree with them. There are going to be people dropping out, and they should. And when you have that 4 or 5 man field, then it's going to get interesting.
All right. Senator Scott Brown, thanks so much for being with us this evening.
Okay, Judge. Go
All right. And now Trump on law enforcement, criminal justice, and the Black Lives Matter movement. With me now, Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke. Good evening, Sheriff.
Good evening, Judge.
All right, you heard him. He said he totally supports law enforcement. Music to your ears?
Puts a smile on my face, and I don't smile often, but finally, and I was hoping that one of these 16 or 17 candidates would stand up and finally get a spine and support the American police officer. The American police officer is the only thing holding these American ghettos together. And instead of pounding on them like they've been doing for the last almost year now, we need a president who's going to appoint an attorney general who's going to see local law enforcement as an ally in the pursuit of justice, and they're going to target criminals instead of police officers and police agencies.
You know, one of the things that he said, when he was talking about nothing to apologize for, and, you know, that all lives matter. What I don't understand, Sheriff, is that this Black Lives Matter movement, why are they only incensed if there is a death at the hands of law enforcement and not the overwhelming issue, which is the death of African Americans at the hands of African Americans?
Because this is a political construct. Look, this group is misguided. They could be a force for good, but instead they're just shills for the Democrat Party. What they should be protesting is that in the Obama recovery, black people still can't find meaningful work. The unemployment rate nationally is about 15–16%. In the city of Milwaukee, the black male unemployment rate is 32%. They ought to be protesting the fact that they have to send their kids are shackled to failing K-12 public schools while President Obama sends his kids to the elite Sidwell Friends School. They ought to be protesting the fact that poverty has become generational and a lifestyle in the American ghetto because their people are hooked on the high of handouts and have gotten comfortable with government dependency. That would prove to me that black lives really matter, but instead, this unit, this group, this mob has made the American police officer the straw man.
And are you concerned about, you know, the implications and the anarchy, you know, from the Occupy Wall Street to, you know, Ferguson? I mean, you've got this Michael Brown, all right, who's like hailed as some kind of hero. He's fighting with a cop over his gun, no charges against the cop who killed him. And when a 9-year-old girl, and we don't know who killed her, but when a 9-year-old girl is shot and killed, I mean, nobody says boo.
Right. They should be down there trying to help the St. Louis police, the Ferguson police, capture those individuals involved in that drive-by shooting into an occupied house and killing a 9-year-old who, Judge, was doing homework at the time. I mean, it's really pathetic. But at the same time, you know, the police are the straw men in this. And until this group and others back off the American police officer, look, the social order has collapsed in Baltimore, in St. Louis, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the American ghetto, and only the American police officers down there trying to keep it together. And we saw over the Memorial Day weekend in the city of Baltimore what life looks like in the American ghetto without the police. It looked like Boko Haram came through there with the death, the carnage, and the destruction that went on. 45 people killed in a month.
Quickly, do you get pushback on this yourself?
A little bit, but, you know, I don't worry about that. You know, this is more about other people than about me at this time. Somebody has to stand up, and I'm willing to do it, not only for the American police officer, but for good law-abiding black people that live in the American ghetto, and that's the overwhelming majority that do.
All right, Sheriff Clarke, thanks so much. And
Thank
next,
you, Judge.
Donald Trump's most recent comments on birthright citizenship have sparked a debate. What did our founding fathers really have in mind? A constitutional law attorney and I go at it next.